Hello, hello, and welcome to the Coach's Corner, brought to you by the Endurance Lab, where you can join the coaches live and unscripted as they recap the week and answer your questions from the forum. My name's Jason Flores, one of your Endurance Lab coaches, and I'm joined by everybody. Everyone's here today. Taya Friedstead up on the top, Ian Murray down there sitting on the floor, Mitch Dingerman with the glasses ready for work, and our nutritional therapist, Andrea Cullen, up on the top right. Good morning, everybody.
Hello.
Hey, good morning.
All right, exciting. So just a reminder to everybody watching and listening that we are on live on several different platforms. So what you hear, again, is what you get. It's raw, unedited commentary from our coaches. This also gives you a chance to be part of the show by asking your questions. So jump on live and be part of the show now. So, all right, let me make sure this gets all shared out. But let's jump straight into the topics today. We're going to go straight over to Coach Mitch. And there's been a lot of talk, with a little bit of time off, recovery time, kind of transition time, depending on where you are at in the season. It may be a chance to take a look at the pain cave and get an idea of what you want to add for this next season. So just like we spend time to see what kind of equipment we want, new wheels, new kits, that sort of thing for the next year, I've got a little bit of information coming from today from a couple sites that talk about how you might want to update your pain cave. So Mitch, what have we got for us today?
Yeah, so I just actually went through this because I kind of lost my whole basement for a number of months as we were doing some work on the house, and I got a chance to put my pain cave back together again. But before we get into it, I was thinking back in my history, and I was thinking, when did I get my current trainer, which is a Kurt Kinetic, which I think I got back in 2008. But then I remembered when I was in high school, I actually had a stationary trainer I hooked my old Bianchi on. Nice. So I want to ask you guys, what was your first trainer? Do you guys remember, was it a smart trainer? Have you been using trainers for a long time? Or what was your first trainer? Ian?
Mine was a Manura Mag 850.
Wow.
Okay.
And it had the adjustable 3 or 4 levels of resistance.
Yep.
And I had the wired cable, and it would come out, I put it on my handlebar, and I would be hammering away, and all of a sudden I'd accidentally bump it or bump the cable, and it would go from like a 1 to a 4 or a 2 to lock up. It was awesome.
What about you, Ted?
The Cyclops Compu Trainer.
Okay.
The one that, with the wheel on.
Cool. And Andrea?
I think the one that Ian's talking about, I don't know the name of it because it was an old one from Garin, but yeah, I had that the dial. And I didn't train. I hated it. So those training sessions were really poor quality until I got a smart trainer and Zwift, where you step it up.
Yeah,
and Jason, what about you?
Yeah, I had a super cheap, it was like $99, $120 performance fluid trainer. It had a flywheel like the size of your fist, so like this big. So yeah. And then I went to a Kurt Kinetic, and then now my Cyclops hammer.
Yeah, my first one must have been like in 1988 or something. And I think I had the cable to do the resistance. And we didn't even have cable TV because we were too cheap to get it. So I had like the 3 channels in the basement. And all I remember is I would go as hard as I could. And I used to get my heart rate up to like 214 or something like that. And that was like my goal. I was like, at the end of the workout, how high can I get my heart rate up? Which was, there was no training, no science. It was just pedal and see what the hell you could do. But then my next trainer, I think I got in 2008 when I started getting into triathlon, and there was no pain cave. It was, I think, in my family room of the house, and I would set it up on a rubber mat, and I would do some workouts kind of just based off of intensity. And then obviously, everything evolves over time, and now there's all the smart trainers and everyone's getting dedicated spaces. So really that brings us to the topic, which is your pain cave. And it's a good time of year to, as Jason was saying, take a step back, look what you got, and kind of evaluate. So the first thing a lot of this came from trainright.com. So one of the first things that you want to do is you want to claim your space. Look at where your pain cave is right now. Make sure it's appropriate. Make sure it's a space that you can call your own and you can keep your stuff in place. If you've got to set up your trainer and your bike every day, it's just one more thing you've got to do, one more chance that the workout's not going to happen. So make sure it's a place where you can just have your trainer dedicated, set up, everything in place so you can just get on the bike and you can work out. Next thing, make sure if you possible, you are using the bike that you're going to ride outdoors. right? The fit is going to be right. The seat's going to be the same. The gearing, everything's going to be as similar as possible what you're doing outside. So, I have my road bike set up here, and then as I get into the triathlon season, I'll switch back and forth between my time trial bike, but they're both here and they're both easy to move back and forth.
So could I add a comment there?
Yeah.
And I switched microphones. I hope this is okay. Can you hear me okay? Okay.
Yeah.
If you have a carbon bike and you put it on a trainer, you should just look at the warranty on your bike, because some manufacturers specifically say they will not cover any damage if you use your bike on a trainer. Now that's a whole new topic, and I won't get into this right now, and I'll post links to the discussion of can the trainer damage your bike, and it goes with the type of trainer, etc. I'll post that in the link to the comments for the podcast, but just something to keep in mind.
So Mitch, I have a question for you. Does that come pre-crashed or?
Which one? The titanium bike?
The bike?
Yeah, in my case, yeah. Actually, I don't think I've crashed the time trial bike. I've crashed the road bike a couple of times. All my own lunacy. But getting back, so other thing you can do this time of year is, right, we're getting to the sales season, so maybe it's a time to look at your trainer, which is something I'm going to be doing here soon. And there's really kind of 3 levels that you can do as far as trainers, right? There's the budget, the classic trainer, the Kurt Kinetic's a great example, and there's some that are cheaper than that, and it'll give you virtual power. So that's really entry level for anyone who's maybe just starting to get into it, not sure if they're going to keep with it or how serious they are. Then you can get into a mid-price setup, which includes your bike, a classic trainer, and maybe a cheaper power meter like a Stages, right? So I think you can get a Stages power meter around $500. Is that about right? So you're looking at less than $1,000 if you already have a bike at that point to get up and running with power on Zwift or in your pain cave. And then of course you can go higher end, and that's going to be a smart trainer. And there's all kinds of great resources. I think everyone's heard of DCRainmaker.com. He has a great annual review of all the power meters, and there's going to be a lot of things coming out. I think Kurt Kinetic has a really neat smart trainer coming out right now, which is going to actually have a rocking mechanism in it, which is really cool. Next thing, which I've had for a long time, is a front wheel block. It stabilizes your front wheel. It gets you a little bit more level, right? If you're thinking that your rear wheel is set up off the ground on the trainer, then you want to raise your front wheel up a little bit so you're not pointing down, and so you're more level. Fans, right? We all need fans. I have one big fan, and that seems to work for me, but I know a lot of people have multiple fans. Aya says she has 3 fans.
That's weak.
I do.
Suffering the heat.
So I find I just need one in front. I think some people get them from behind them or on the sides. Maybe I'm just not working hard enough.
Tailwind. It's all psychological.
All right, then then we're getting into what are you going to do while you're on the trainer? If you're riding Zwift, you've got to have some kind of a computer or an iPad. I guess you could do it on an iPhone. That sounds sort of crazy to me. But you could go all the way. Yeah, I know that would be ridiculous, right? You need your glasses like this. But so in my case, I've got a computer that I actually built for Zwift, and I've got like 2 monitors. I've got a webcam for streaming. If you look around, I've got room to store books. But I could do anything from watching movies to streaming to just doing Zwift proper. Then actually, this is something that I upgraded recently. I used to just have a plant stand next to me where I would set the mouse and I would set some water or some gels or whatever. I've gone upscale now. I got an old desk that we had upstairs, and you can see a little bit of it, but got plenty of room to put the computer, the mouse, the keyboard, water, whatever else I need while I'm working out.
Oh, so, about the table there too. So there's also the Wahoo table, which is a famous one built for training indoors. There's actually a generic Wahoo table out there right now. So you can get that same exact design for a fraction of the price.
So when we're on the topic of the computer and the TV, I went through this recently as well as I was trying to set up my new monitors, was making sure they're at the proper elevation. You want to think about your position on the bike, how your head is going to sit in a normal, relaxed position, where your eyes are going to be, and that's where you want your monitor. You don't want to be straining your neck looking up or have an unnatural down position. You want to try to be relaxed and just like you're going to be outdoors. Next big thing, especially now as we're getting into rocking trainers, is make sure you have enough room, right? If you're in a crazy sprint at the end of a Zwift race, you don't want to be knocking things over. You don't want to be running into things. You want your knees to have plenty of room and free range so you're not hitting them. Make sure that as you're going into the season, this is more beyond just what the pain cave, but make sure that you're able to train in your drops or your aero bars. Don't just get in the habit of sitting upright and forgetting that when you're riding outdoors, you can be in different positions. We've talked about fans, so we're making sure we're cool enough. Good set of headphones. I've got multiple kinds of headphones I kind of run. I've got the old earbuds from Apple, but then also I've got some Bluetooth wireless, and you can take a Bluetooth dongle and put it on your computer, and you can get Bluetooth from your desktop if you need be. So you can have headphones and don't subject your family to all the sounds of Zwift and music as you're working out.
On that, just make sure you get a decent pair, because I've burned through a few Amazon cheapos. And I was like, oh, these are only about $20. Let me get these.
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah, I'll give props to one brand that I've had good success with. This thing is Tautronics.
Yeah.
They seem to last pretty well. I've gifted one to my daughter and got myself a new pair, and they're all going strong. Anyone else have any feedback on kind of a pain cave? Anything that's worked for them or that's a little different?
I've got a bar stool as my side table.
Yeah. I do have a couple things. I did just put a picture up of your setup there, Mitch, from Facebook when everything was upgraded. So we've got a view of that. So that actually looks really nice with the single fan. Fan choice, super important. I'll see if I can bring that up and some notes, but you can get very, very particular. So if you think about when you are indoors, some of the key things are ease of use that Mitch mentioned. That means it's easy to get to. There's no kind of, you don't have to set things up before you get started. You don't have to do anything extra that's going to make you want to be like, no, I just don't want to be on the bike. And then cooling, I think, is the two things that I would say. Yeah. So the right fan, great fans. I think that's something like a 28 or 30-inch fan that Mitch uses. I use that as a backup. Kay has got like 12 of those. She just has it like from every 10 degrees, and then two from above. So it's just like, completely wind. And I think the key thing with that is when you are cooling yourself, you are getting that evaporative cooling. You're not just feeling like you're just getting all swamped.
Yeah, and I will add really quick, I do have my two fans that I keep above my shoulder, which are Beavis and Butthead bobbleheads. So these guys are very important.
You can have your pets too if they're well behaved. Yeah, so we'll post, in fact, there's a discussion about pain caves and setups, etc., on our forum. So head over there, discuss.endurancelab.fit. We'll be posting some more information there too.
Yeah, super interesting in that sense. So yeah, so if you have a chance, I would say take the time, take a look and see what your setup is. And just like we upgrade from season to season, take the time to give yourself something. Give yourself a gift give yourself the allowance to get yourself something nice for the pain cave. Because if you are spending a good amount of time in there, you want it to be inviting. You want it to be able to be a place that you can find yourself spending a good amount of time. Because we do as indoor training athletes as well. Anything else?
Santa applies to adults too. It's not just kids. So if your kid doesn't need another video game, and you do need a new trainer.
Yeah.
There's no differential in pricing there at all.
No video.
No, Mitch,
well,
nobody asked you.
You could go PS4, Xbox One versus like Tax Neo, right?
Oh, it's a matter of principle, so it's not about the price.
Or you make them ride your old trainer and supplement their video game playing while they play the games. They're on their trainer. There you go. All right. Okay. All right. We're gonna shift gears a little bit. We talked a little bit about recovery last week with Taya's conversation. We're gonna bring a little bit of a different view from Coach Ian here, and he's gonna give us a little bit of breakdown of the importance of taking breaks here. So, ready for it, Ian?
Yeah. So we've talked about recovery a number of different times here, and recovery's great and it's really important. However, as we roll into the end of our season, we need to get a little OFO time, and we'll just say that OFO time is taking that mental break, and you're going to do things that you enjoy that don't necessarily revolve around your primary sport. The big thing is what you need to understand is if you've gone through a 12 or 18 month cycle from training for a big A race or a couple A races, your brain needs a break. Your brain needs a break from that constant wake up, look at my schedule, program it in, have my life in a completely rigid framework to meet some goal that, well, it's great and I'm never going to knock it, but at the end of the day, unless we're professionals, that goal is just something that we're doing to try and have a good time and enjoy ourselves. But your brain thinks of it as work. So you need to have that mental break from it. And there's different ways you can do that. We'll go over that in a minute. The second part is you need to reconnect with your family and friends, or maybe work, depending on what you did. So I know, especially for people who are focused on long course, triathlon, maybe some hardcore stage racing, could be a RAM type event, an endurance cycling event, or even marathon training. You tend to neglect your family and friends. There's no Friday night going out because Saturday you got to get up and train, and then Sunday you got to get up and train. So there's no Saturday going out. Even if you did, you're so trash from your workout that you're going out is like you went out at 6 and you're back by 8. Because you just lie on the couch all day long. So you need to take a little bit of time to reconnect with your family and friends. Let them know you're alive. Let them know that that relationship matters. If it does, if it doesn't, then don't reconnect with them.
Yeah.
Let them know that the relationship matters and that you're not being 100% self-absorbed. And realistically, let's be honest. We're taking this time to win some points so we can go back to training and be 100% self-absorbed. But you got to do that reconnection to maintain the ties. And then you can also do social things that don't revolve around the bike, which I know is weird, and things that we don't understand that, but maybe you need to go do that. And it can be around the bike. You can go do things on the bike, but it's just not what you would normally be doing. So instead of jumping on the bike and going for a 4-hour ride, maybe you take the kid and do a mountain bike ride, a trail ride. You go out with your significant other, your friends on the comp cruisers, and go out and do a beer run or something like that. Whatever you want to do, but it's got to be fun. It could be even just going for hikes through the mountains or snowshoeing if you're crazy. Something like that. But the point is, you do something that's just different than what you've been doing. It allows that brain to kind of shut that part off and recover. And it doesn't mean you have to be sedentary on the couch. It just means you have to have a little bit of different focus. Now, the other way you can do this, to take the mental break, is changing up sports. And I always encourage triathletes especially to do this. Cyclists, you guys are a little bit some of you guys do it, but some don't. And you can change up your sport. So for cycling, my favorite seasons I had where I did a cycling season in the spring, triathlon spring through fall, and then marathon fall to winter. And you go, oh, well, you're just doing the same thing and you're changing focus. Yeah, but the focus is completely different. And you can throw in different events. Now for the cyclists, you can throw in some cross or some mountain bike. You can go time trial if you're a crit person. You can throw in a couple of crits if you're not, or if you're a triathlete. Anything you want to do to throw just something different. The cross country skiing, again, if you live in one of those horrible climates, that you can do that. And that's going to have a couple different effects on you. One, it's that mental break and it's that switching it up. But two, you're also going to be changing energy systems that you're training. Yeah. And that's a really important thing because if you're an endurance person, you tend to fall into the trap of just one speed. That's what we do, and we go. Or you kind of use a range. Well, if you're going from endurance to cross or endurance to crit or crit to marathon or whatnot, you're going to have to improve some kind of weakness that you have. And so this is an opportunity for you to focus on a weakness while still not losing that fitness that you had in what you want to do.
Yeah, you can still work your cardiovascular system, right? Doing these other things, and you're working out the different muscles in different ways too.
Exactly.
So it's just it helps in all those respects, and the mental aspect, like you said, as well.
Yeah, and the other thing too is if you're not normally a person who does off-road or a different thing, you might be able to improve some skills that you don't have. You might crash a few times, but it's okay to crash the grass. No, I mean I've done this a number of times, a number of years. Anytime I'm in a place where I can do this, I'll do it. I'm getting to do some cross this fall, so I am getting to practice that. But in the past, I've done the switching off to marathon training or just some different cycling training just to try and mix it up. But it's a change for my fitness training, but it's also a change for the mental side of the house, because I don't place importance on it, but I do place a lot of emphasis on fun. So I don't really care about where I finish podium wise, but I'm gonna go out and have a good time.
Yeah,
that was my question. It's about how you can change your mindset around things, because a lot of athletes can't stop the self-judgment, the needing to push, the needing to win. When you have to, well, I would see that it's important to learn how to completely let go and let the fun in, let the failures in, I suppose.
Yeah.
And let other people win in your family.
Well, now let's be honest. I'm not going to let other people
win.
I'm not upset if I don't win, but I'm not going to give it up.
Oh, man.
But yeah, so those are the things. So I don't know. I know Mitch has probably done this with switching off to running. And
I mean, I followed the same pattern for a number of years when I was actually healthy from a running perspective, where I would do triathlons. And then in the winter, I would train for a half marathon that was like in March or April. And then I would slide into the tri season again. And last couple of years, I've done a crit. I've done some like pure time trials. So just different things, which I think is always fun to try something new.
Mm-hmm.
And Deirdre, who was watching earlier, she actually throws in some stand-up paddleboard racing too.
Nice.
Yeah. And that's pretty awesome because it works your core pretty well and the arms and back. So that's just a different thing to throw out. And I mean, face it, if you live in warm weather where you can stand up paddleboard, why not? Exactly.
Yeah, I've a little bit of the off time I use. The past couple years, I've trained for short races, 5Ks, pushing the little guy. That's been fun, just to kind of get yourself away. It takes, I don't know, for whatever reason, for me as a cyclist only, it takes a lot to get me away from the bike and like do something else. But you know what? There is something to the simplicity of just putting on shoes and going outside.
Yeah.
Running, I mean, we'll get on a whole different subject here, but running can be extremely addictive. I had this conversation with my cross-country runner yesterday, and we were talking about longer distance runs, and at what point does the run become not painful, but just becomes kind of automatic, where you're in that zone, and Ian knows what I'm talking about, where the miles go by and you don't remember them anymore.
Interesting.
And that's kind of that's where the running is fun for me.
I'm at that point where I still remember every single step.
Yeah, every single step, exactly.
I think I remember Tejas has been saying he would never run unless he was running away from something. Was it?
He's not going to run very far.
All right. We got anything else there, Ian?
No, that's it.
Okay, excellent. All right. So we actually have a listener question. I'm trying to pull it up here. It's an audio question. So you can send us either audio or video questions. We had that there it is. We had that last week. So I want to thank Ted Stewart actually for sending this question in. He's a new writer to the Endurance Lab. He is super excited to get started with Ability Lab, which we'll talk a little bit about more. But let me go ahead and play this audio here for the coaches and for you guys to hear. And this is Ted Stewart asking his audio question.
Hey, Jason, thanks so much. I appreciate you having me and allowing me to ask a question. But real quick about myself, my name is Ted Stewart. I'm new to cycling. I actually just started this year. And anytime I do anything, for whatever reason, I feel like I need to go all out. I never tiptoe in anything. I kind of just jump on in. And when I do that, I get myself into situations where I don't always know the answers. And I kind of learn as fast as I can, as quickly as I can. And so I got myself into a situation this past weekend. I did the MS 100. It was 100 miles. And just to raise money for MS, it was a great cause. And as I was riding, I decided to push myself and just see how hard I could go and see how quickly I can get the ride accomplished. And as I was riding, I got myself into like a peloton, right? So there's about 7 or 8 guys. They were all going between 20 and 22 miles an hour, and they were definitely stronger riders than me. I was observing. I started from the back. I started working my way through the peloton to where I was coming up to the lead. And I was trying to figure out, okay, how long are people staying in the lead? Where did they go afterward? Just so that when I got to the front, I'd be like, okay, I know what to do. Well, I get to the front, and of course, the whole scenario changes. I'm not in a race. This is more just like a charity ride. So there's people all over the road, and when I get to the front, it gets really congested. There's two slow riders kind of taking up one lane, and then as I'm approaching them, there's two or three cyclists that start overcoming them and passing them, leaving maybe me like a half a lane if I want to take my group of riders around them. And we were the fastest group. And so as we approached them, I decided, well, let me slow down a little bit and take it more cautious, and we can slowly go around them, dropping speeds down to like 18 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Well, immediately I get yelled at, or at least I hear a guy behind me huffing and puffing. He gets all angry at me, and of course I get nervous. I don't know what to do, so I speed up again. We pass. And we start cruising again. I'm trying to get back up to 20 to 21, 22 miles an hour, and I'm not the strongest rider, so it takes a lot for me to get there. And before I get up to that speed again, this guy, he just grunts really loud and he passes me, and at that point I get kind of I get a little frustrated because, I am trying to do my best, but maybe I am doing something wrong. And that's where I'd love to ask and see what you guys think. In that situation, what I ended up doing after that point, though, just so I can finish, is, I ended up just dropping to the back, and I actually just let them go, and I just rode by myself and, maybe found a different group. So that's what I decided to do, because I didn't know if I was doing something wrong. And if I did, I'd love to know how to handle that situation. What are the right things, the wrong things to do when you get yourself in a situation, when you get in a peloton? Maybe I need to learn more about the etiquette when you're inside of one, watch some different videos. But I'd love insight to see what you guys feel, or maybe analyze that situation and know what I could do done differently and what I can learn from that. And I love criticism, so anything you guys got, I'd appreciate it. But anyways, thanks again. I appreciate your time. Looking forward to hearing the response.
All right. So really great question there. We can get started. Anyone want to jump in?
Yeah, he deserved to get yelled at.
Yeah, unfortunately. So for those that have spent a good amount of time in group rides and that sort of thing, what are the things that you should be thinking about in that situation, Ian? You've got a fast group coming up onto a slower group. You're coming up to the front of this smaller pack that's faster. What should you be thinking? What should you be doing?
Well, so if you're coming up in the front of a group, it's your responsibility to be the eyes of that group. So you got to be looking up the road. You can't be looking 2-3 meters in front of you. And this actually is once you're about 2 to 3 riders off the front, you got to be looking 10-20 meters up the road. So you got to see what's coming up, and then it's your job as the front to communicate to those in the back. So if you see that you have these slower riders, you have to start making the motions to move or alerting the riders behind you. You're going to start moving over. And it's kind of like, and I know Mitch has talked about this, tonnage rules. In cycling, speed and size rule as well. So if you're in a pack of fast riders, you're going to overtake people. Yeah. You have, well, one, it's your responsibility to overtake them safely. 2, it's your responsibility to let them know they're being overtaken. And 3, it's your responsibility to not do anything stupid at the front that causes a mass change of whether it's direction, whether it's speed from the front. Because the bigger that group is, the more that effect from the first rider impacts those in the back. So if you slow down from 22 to 18 pretty quickly, that means everyone in the back is going to be slowing down, but it's going to be delayed slow. So it's going to go from 20 to 14 because they're going to have to slam on their brakes or crash into the people in front of them. So at that point, once you recognize that and you realize you're going to be overtaking, you have to make that assessment of how are we going to overtake. You can yell to the people behind you, you signal, and you start making that move early enough that you can get around everybody safely. But you can't vacillate. You got to go, and you got to own it once you go.
Yeah, and it's like a semi truck. You have all of that train behind you, and it takes a long time to make those movements. You have to calculate that. The speed that you're going to go at, and really move slowly and safely. It takes, and then the other thing is if you're going to the front of the group and just rotating, you have to be looking at the speed, so you maintain that speed and you're not accelerating all of a sudden, when you're in the front, you maintain that speed and you smoothly transition out.
Well, yeah. You can also go back to what we talked about last week too. It's group riding etiquette and everything. It all comes back down to communication, which is what Ian and Teo are really talking about here, is that that you've got to communicate to your group, you got to communicate to the other group. When you started riding with the group, you might want to communicate and said, hey, you know what, I'm kind of new. Feel free to give me some pointers and let people know that, you know what, you're not exactly 100% sure what you're doing all the time. And I think cyclists are generally pretty good people. I think some people are a little intense. But generally, most of them are going to take you under their wing, and they're going to be proud to like share their passion and their support with you. So.
Yeah, so I think in the situation that I have riders new to a group like this, you can rotate through. The question is always how long do you pull, right? And so if you are a new rider, you're new to a group, this pull can be what was that?
Through and off.
Exactly, come through and off. That's exactly what I tell riders. So follow the flow. You get to the front, you pull off. No one's gonna get mad if you took a short pull. No one's gonna. Maybe someone will get mad if you took like a 1 or 2 minute pull. But everyone knows that those riders are just trying to show like who's trying to have their fitness for that moment. But if you're smart, you're gonna take a short, reasonable pull so that you can come around and do it again. If you're new to the group, I would say head to the front, pull over to the side, let the next guy through, and just let the rotation happen. Rotation and the fluidity of the group is super important, and you getting used to making that move. And so the other thing I tell riders is that no one's paying you a paycheck to take a pull at the front. So if you get onto the front and you're doing like a 3-minute effort, a 5-minute effort, a FTP test for everybody, really everybody is essentially benefiting from this pull, and you're going to be popped off the back. So essentially, especially when it's like, you know, Tuesday Night Worlds, you're going to see the strongest guy take the shortest pull ever in their life, and you know they're way stronger, but they're just trying to get people to come around. So if you keep this mentality in your mind where you're just trying to get to the front, take a couple cranks, pull over until someone like is trying to come across. You're like, oh, you want to go? Oh, sure, go ahead. And then you're just back in the draft.
Yeah.
That's exactly what you want to get.
And you know what? In every group ride, there are the riders who love to pull.
Yes.
They're strong. They want to show off. Whatever the reason is, they want to work that day. There's plenty of those. So they'll be happy. You know, they'll be happy that you just want to rotate through. Just let them know ahead of time. Just say, you know what, I'm going to take a 30-second pull and I'm going to safely rotate off. So it's not like you just got to the front and you got out. You just spend a couple seconds there, 30 seconds to a minute, and then you rotate off. Keep the speed that you were in when you're in the second place. And the other thing is, don't get behind the fastest or the strongest rider either.
Oh, yeah.
If you are not that strong, don't get behind that person, because once that person is doing a 10-minute pull at however many watts and you're the second wheel, that's going to cost you so much energy. You're gonna get smoked. So find a safe rider to be behind, but not some of the strongest ones.
It does take some finesse to let other people come through and rotate. Usually this happens towards the back where you ask somebody to jump in front of you so you can change the rotation. But it's just these small little things that you learn. One thing, talking about speed, a lot of times we talk about wattage, we talk about targets, things like that. But when in the dynamics here of a peloton, you got to look actually at your miles per hour. I think it's important because so many times you'll see people looking at their stem and they'll be like, oh, I want to do an interval at my 1 minute power, so I'm at 375, and everybody's like, whoa, we're like slowing down because you're at the front of the group, or they're way overpower. So maybe the speed is because of the dynamics of the group. It might be a little bit lower, then all of a sudden someone goes up into their zone when they get to the front, and everyone is just like, you know, their lungs are at the bottom of their kits because you're trying to keep up with somebody trying to do an interval. So don't do an interval off the front. Respect the speed. Look at the speed. But great question. Was there anything else we wanted to add? Andrea, any group? Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, you know, to Taya's comment about picking the slower rider right behind. That's why I rode behind Andy Jenner a lot when I was in Arizona.
Yeah. You know, I heard riders. We do have a rider that's known for making sure they're always in the draft. I think Eric Denning got the award at Team Camp for the most. If there was in fact a game where you can get points for drafting, Eric Denning would be the winner of that, from what I understand. So.
There was so much grief over that one. Oh my God.
What do you say, Ian?
It's the opposite of the aggressive rider award.
Yeah,
Eric is very good at that.
Very good at that. So Andrea, so group riding in Ireland.
I'm terrified by it, to be honest. I'm learning from all of the options here, but I just am like hyper aware. So I'm like, what if there's a pothole? What if there's cars? What if I'm an idiot? And honestly, I'd nearly rather like cycle twice as hard, like 10 feet behind everyone. I think, and maybe it's just a practice thing. I train alone. There's too much going on our roads for me to trust. It would need to be summer and a well-swept road. And I'm probably a bit nervous, and people will pick up on that, and then I'm picking up on them. So practice, I suppose.
Yeah.
So I'll say something about potholes real quick. So unless it is a crater, the unless it's like it's like crater, or something that your bike is not, something that your wheel's not gonna get out of. You don't need to be deviating from every single bump and hole on the road. Sometimes it's safer to just go through it. Just go through it. Your bike will survive, your wheel will survive, and if you have that big group behind you, if you keep doing this, right, you're going zigzagging, and you're all of a sudden, hold this and that, go this way, go that way. Just some of the stuff, just get through it. Just ride over.
We were training in South Africa. Must have been 2 years ago. They have an amazing place for training called the Cradle outside of Johannesburg, but they've massive hills. And I'm like, blue knuckles on my way down this hill. And a group came past me, like in perfect formation, wheel on wheel. And they must be doing over 60k an hour. And I'm like, wow, I don't know how. I would just be riding my wheel in the middle of that group.
Well, there's a couple things. How comfortable are you with your group? So if you guys all know each other and you ride all the time, you start understanding how the people ride. So, but new to this, I recommend you get with a group that has a couple of experienced riders who lead it, and then more newer people, and you can stay a little bit further away. That's really acceptable to stay wheel off. You don't need to be 6 inches and right here. You can be right here. Just you need to be in the draft. So a couple of meters off is fine. And then the other thing that I found for most new people, they fixate on the cassette in front of them. Instead of looking up the road through it, because your peripheral will tell you what's going on right in front of you, but you need to be watching what's up the road in front of you, and that will help you with the potholes, the random dogs that come out,
road signs.
So that reminds me of a story. Is when you get you want to get with that group of riders, and sometimes you'll get with a group of riders that you all really know, but you're all Zwifters, and then no one knows how to draft because everyone thinks they could ride straight through each other.
Well, when we were in Arizona, I kept waiting for like the little sign to pop up ahead of me that said 3 meters, 2 meters, 1 meters,
and then it said sign.
Oops. There was a sign.
Excellent. All right. So really great conversation. Great question, Ted. I hope that helped. If it didn't, let us know. We'll get your money back. All right. Excellent. All right. We're going to shift gears here. And we're going to get a little nerdy on you. I'm going to bring a little bit of my day work into my early morning work here. And we're going to talk a little bit about lens tints that you can use on your sunglasses or lenses.
Come on, Jason. Let me get ready for this one.
He's going to go to sleep. Ian's going to go to sleep. Don't worry. I'll make it lively. Let's see. So we're going to talk about lens tints and how they can help you see. So I'm going to start off with a quick round with the coaches. We'll start with Tay up there. Tell me what's your go-to lens and what color tint do you feel that it is? We actually should have had everybody bring them, huh?
Yeah, I should have.
Yeah, I'll go get mine.
So I have Rudy's, and I have the race type lens. So it's kind of red, and it's mirrored. That's it, and I switch lens. But that's my go-to.
So you said it's red mirror, or it's also red tinted?
It's not red tinted. But it's mirrored, and
got it.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I do have a red tinted that I switched with those lens when it is cloudy outside and I don't need the actual tint. So I get it's not completely clear in terms of white like you would see transparent. It's got a little red to it, but as I see it, it works really well when I leave the house at 5 in the morning and it's dark, and I come back and it's 7 and it's cloudy.
Yeah, we'll round back to that for that color. Andrea's got a really interesting pair. I really should have her go get it and have her put it on. That would be really interesting if it's close by.
I can. can if you let other people
Okay,
chat away.
sounds good.
I'll
Mitch.
go get it.
All right, we'll get it. All right, so Mitch.
All right, so I've got a pair of. I'm getting feedback here from somebody.
It's probably Andrea's headphones.
All right, so I've got a pair of native brand sunglasses from REI, and they've got two lenses. They've got black and they've got like that yellow. And I actually, I probably need a dedicated pair of like cycling or more sport sunglasses.
Yeah.
But I can be frugal at times, and I can be incredibly non-frugal at times. And this is just an area where I've decided to cheap out, and I probably shouldn't, because I think your eyes are really important.
Thank you, Mitch. Straight to my heart. All right, looks like Ian went to go get his sunglasses, but I'll go ahead and go through mine. So I've got an Oakley Jawbreaker here. It actually has a little bit of a red tint. Let me see if I can get it on here. A little bit of a haze, red tint with a mirror. I've got my clear pair because I ride outside at 4 a.m. These are actually, they actually change colors and put a little bit of a tint to the lens. I've got my everyday road pair, which is kind of more of a gray lens technology here. And then, I think that's pretty much rounding it. These are my last season, and then these are gray with mirror. So these are just a solid everyday gray pair. And here comes Ian. Ian's got his couple pair. So what have you got? What have you got there, Ian?
All right, so I have a pair of Rudy Projects with the photochromatic lens. So they change. These are what I actually commute mostly in. So I can have them on in the morning when it's dark, or in the evening if I'm coming home late, and it'll change, or if I need them during the day. Part of that's because I like to always have a windscreen over my eyes, to prevent dry eyes or bugs or whatnot.
Or rocks going in your eye?
I'm okay with rocks in my eyes. I just don't want them.
Yeah, he's an Army guy. I mean, come on.
Yeah. No, actually, I had to do my risk assessment for the Army, and that's, eye protection, eye pro. And then most of the time when I race, I use my Roca, ODZ colored Roca glasses.
Nice.
And these are a smoke polarized lenses.
Very nice, very nice. All right. Andrea, are you ready?
Yeah, I think we have the same ones, Ian, just for general. I have the Rudy and the photochromatic.
Nice.
I find them fantastic for running with and very comfortable. A little long. I have a very small face, and I'm just super sensitive to everything. I find they sometimes will stick into the back of my head a little bit much and create headaches if I have them on for too long. So I'm trying to find a solution on that. But the ones, I have very sensitive eyes, and I'm a contact lens wearer. And when you're in an aero position, a lot of the time the wind is coming over the lens and sort of on the side and hitting my contacts. I'm not blinking enough, and by the end of my 90K, I'm kind of trying to get my lens to unstick. So these are a pair. 7i make them, and they're actually motorcycle sunglasses. They're photochromatic as well. They have kind of a cushioning behind, so they sit totally. To the end off. They sit totally snug against my face. They're a little bit big because I have a very small face. I look a bit like Toad from Toad Hall.
I like it. Love it.
But they have a super clear lens. They weren't expensive. They block the wind very effectively. The only time I've run into issues with them is in a lot of rain, and they may start to fog up, which they're not meant to. They do have vents. But I found in very, very harsh conditions, they can. I suppose that would be the same with any lens. We're all having to take them off and just face the rain. But I'm always looking for more options. I can't run with these, so I need to have one pair of glasses in transition
Excellent.
1 and one pair of glasses in transition 2.
Yeah. So for contact lens wearers, huge thing with wind. Looks like Ian's going to be pulling off some fun toys. But while he does that, let me show you kind of the technology that Oakley has. If you notice that the lens actually is much taller from your standard lens, it actually goes pretty high above my brow. And what it allows you to do is when you are in the aero position with your helmet on, it actually closes the gap between the top of your helmet and your sunglasses. So it actually allows air to pass over that front surface. One thing this also does is, let me turn this around, is there's I know this is becoming a commercial for Oakley. My reps would be very happy. There is advanced technology, which if you watch the nose pad here closely, I will click this and you'll see the nose pads tilt. and then you could also actually, it'll tilt back. And so when I'm wearing them, and let's say I'm climbing, I could actually use this with my index finger here. I can push down and pull up on the lens, and it'll actually pull the lenses away from my face a bit and allow some wind to allow the lens not to fog. And then when I'm coming, let's say downhill, I'd push here and it is sucked up against my face, and it's nice and aero with my helmet. So it's actually, of course, designed to work really well with the ARO line of Oakley helmets that have the aero lip that allows for the wind to go in. It also allows holes that fit the Oakley glasses right into the helmet. So something to think about. So what does Ian do to make sure that wind doesn't get in your eye during the bike? Look at Andrea.
It's got a visor. Opens up.
I love it.
It's like that. And the good thing is, well, you can practice holding your head up by just getting in a plank.
See, that's only if you're a triathlete.
You can just sit in a plank and hold your head up.
I love
like
it.
This.
You have to be a triathlete to wear that.
Doesn't Mitch has one of these, right?
Mitch is a triathlete, right?
Hold on.
All right. Well, let's start talking about while he looks. Let's talk a little about the colors and the tints. I'm going to start with the color gray, and so this is a really standard color. I'm going to go ahead and pull up something for our viewers that's going to help them give it an idea. And this is from the Oakley website. But let's talk a little bit about the benefits of the gray color. So it's good for general purpose use, anti-fatigue, true color perception. This is going to be important as we look at the other colors here. But they are dark enough to provide overall protection by reducing glare, especially off water. So sports, it's good for kind of all around. Driving, baseball, this is kind of your standard lens. And as I move the slider over here, you'll see kind of full sun. And then you'll see this slide over. Oh man, I have to come back to Mitch here in a second. And then this is the full tint. You notice that the colors still looked the right color and that sort of thing. So that looks great. So let me switch back. Looks like Mitch is ready here.
Yeah.
Here we go.
So this is, I mean, we're getting way off track here, but this was my halfway solution trying to solve two problems ineffectively. So Giro has this aero helmet that's more of a regular helmet, but then also has an aero shield, which depending on what study you read, either is less aero or more aero for the sunglasses here. But effective helmet, a little cheaper than a full aero kind of solution like Ian had there.
Yeah, so you'll see some crit racers and some people that do kind of multi-type of riding and racing. They like that. We do kind of chuckle when riders show up to group rides with the visor on, but I guess when it's game time, it's game time.
Yeah, so that's why we went to this one last year, which is we've got the ODZ colors here, a little bit of orange, and and actually nice. I got this on deep discount, and I think Andy Jenner actually got one as well. I picked it up for him. So
very nice. You wore it thoroughly before you gave it to Andy, I hope.
I did all kinds of things to it.
Yeah, there you go. All right.
We're going to have to do a coach's corner in our most crazy aero gear one day.
There you go. All right, so let's slide over to brown. And so what brown does is it helps you improve contrast. It does contain a red element, which actually enhances your depth perception. So these are good for things like golf, tennis, fishing, and things like that. Sports where distance needs to be judged. So nice brown is actually really nice. So I've got, for our viewers, unfortunately not for our coaches, but for our viewers, I have a sample of this lens tint where you're looking at a trail. And with the orange tint, it does allow you a little bit better depth perception, kind of what's in front of you and that sort of thing. So super nice to have there in that respect, in that sample on the right.
Jason.
Yes.
I have a question about the colors.
Sure.
You know the way color affects our mood? I always find when I have the brown tinted lenses, maybe it's because Ireland's kind of grey and cloudy, that I just feel better. Sometimes the grey tinted lens just, I don't know, feels dark and grey and affects me. And I don't know if there's been studies done on that in athletes and mood and color tinted lenses and different things like that as well.
Yeah, so if you think about the color that reaches our eyes, the study comes, or the technology comes from the amount of light. So the more blue light there is, the more that it stimulates kind of that afternoon bright light. So the more blue or kind of more natural light it is, it'll stimulate kind of that happy place, that happy feeling. As you get on to more orange tinted, amber tinted, brown tinted, it can sort of kind of dull that color. Or even the grays, of course, they will all dull color, meaning it'll be less blue, it'll be more dark, and so you'll get the senses of kind of more dreary, and it can simulate kind of more quiet time. So going into kind of like the more biohacking space, a lot of people have kind of implemented the use of an orange tinted lens to kind of block out those blue lights at the end of the day to help kind of stimulate melatonin release and kind of get kind of turn the body off. Ian probably has a pair of those too. He's talked about those in the past. And so on that tip, as we change the color that we get sensed throughout the day, it can change kind of how you're feeling and mood. So that's not something that is just in your mind. That's in the science of it all. And the more, let's say, blue light you have throughout a day, the more stimulated you are. A lot of times I will recommend to our younger patients or to their parents to make sure that their kids are getting off their devices a couple hours before they sleep, because it will affect their sleep at night because of the blue light exposure. Luckily, a lot of our devices, a lot of iDevices and Android even now, are able to switch into either night lock or kind of night mode, which allow a little bit more of an orange color, and that's super, super helpful. And that comes into this brown and amber, getting to us closer, getting the blue out and closer to that more kind of incandescent color. Does that help, Andrea?
Yeah.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Excellent. All right. So I think there did someone have a yellow tinted lens? You've probably seen that out. I don't think any of us.
Yeah, I've got two lenses for my sunglasses. One's yellow.
And yeah, so lenses are great. Yellow lenses are great for like early morning. It's good for clarity of fog and haze and other low light conditions. It allows you that protection, but it actually brightens up the color. So this works when it's not completely dark, like 4 a.m. like it is outside right now. So when there's a little bit of light, it helps brighten up that. And so these are good things with low light or kind of changing contrasting. So like mountain biking, let's say, hunting, tennis in low light, target shooting, but it does cause some color distortion. So you just have to be careful with that. But otherwise, it's great for kind of an early morning colored lens. So that may be a better choice in the morning if you have that option. In comparison, Taya mentioned that there's a red lens that she uses, and most likely uses the red lens because it's a lighter tint. But in fact, the red colored tint is actually good for a full sunny day, because it actually enhances your visual depth and reduces eye strain, but also provides enhanced road visibility, specifically with the red, comforting the eyes where your eyes don't feel as strained. Because a lot of times patients will come in and say, I want the darkest tinted lens that you can. But in fact, you just want to break down the colored lights that they are exposed most to make their eyes feel more comfortable. So this red and pink lens is mostly used for cyclists and racing. In fact, even track racing on the track. So you'll see this technology. So you just need to kind of realize that. Let me bring the sample up for our viewers. It's under cycling, black. And so this is a really great lens that you can use for contours and things like that. But on the road, you'll see this kind of in the prism technology from all the Oakley line frames. So that's something to kind of look into for that red lens. The other one was blue. It's more of a fashionable thing. It's hopefully going to go out of fashion, but they're essentially more cosmetic appealing. It reduces some glare, but it's really low on the light, because blue light is something that is not we're looking for, not a lot of what we're looking for. Mostly used in kind of spectator sports as well as golf. Let's see, did I cover green? Green is kind of an overall color. You see this a lot in your Ray-Ban colors. It's called G15. That's a standard lens for Ray-Ban, kind of across the board if it doesn't have any prescription. It's a good in-between brown and gray lens. And so with its green lens, it transmits all colors evenly. It's good for general purpose use, and it dims glare and also brightens things in the shadow. So just all around great lens. So I hope that helps. If you have any questions about it, kind of our go-to cycling lenses will probably be somewhere between your brown and amber for most, and then pink for kind of more advanced as far as racings are concerned. And then in the evening, your clear pair is always key. Oh, I have them in my hand. And this is becoming really popular, polychromatic, where essentially that means it changes color, a couple terms. So it goes from clear to a little bit of a tint. so that when the sun does come out, it's not kind of blazing. The second thing that I want before we go is talk about polarization. And essentially that's a film that's put in between the lens that reduces glare. So it will, in a certain angle, which for us is in the 180 degrees, it will reduce glare, meaning kind of the shine off of cars, off of the road, that sort of thing. And it'll give you definitely sharper vision. So polarization is key. Every lens should come in with UV protection, and then you can choose your tint out of all that. Is there any questions there from the coaches that we want to kind of go over, or are we good?
Yes.
Yes.
Do you generally get what you pay for?
You do. Most lenses you'll get kind of even over the counter at like a mall store. They can't be released without UV coating, but you have to look out for it. I definitely recommend you go with a name brand. The other thing that you want to look for is optics, and what that is how clear the actual lens is. In the world of cycling and running, the brands that you've heard today, Rudy Project is great. Oakley's great. I didn't hear, what brand do you wear, Taya? So same thing. So yeah, they're really well known. And because if you notice, the lenses are quite large, it's really tough to get the optics right. So if you're buying this sort of lens that are just from some one-off manufacturer, what you'll find is that there'll be distortion on the edges of the lens. And that's what you don't want when you've got your head down and trying to look up onto the side and trying to be able to see. So yes, you do get what you pay for.
Oh, and another question is, are we damaging the lenses when we try and clean them? And is it just the super gentlest cloth possible? Because our lenses get destroyed when we're out cycling with mud and dead flies and different things. Roadkill. Mm-hmm.
The simplest way to do it is simple mild soap with water to get the big pieces off. And an easy terry cloth or lens cloth, something soft is fine. Most lenses have scratch resistant coatings on them that unless you drop them on sharp objects like rocks, falling off of bikes during a cyclocross or something like that, that could damage the glasses.
Or if your dog gets a hold of them.
There you go. Sharp objects. Really great questions, though.
Thank you.
Excellent. All right. So thanks. Really good questions today. Thanks for Ted Stewart bringing in the audio question. If you have a question that you would like to ask the coaches, definitely reach out to us. We'd love to hear it. And if you have a question from the forum, we would love to bring it in here if you don't want to do the audio or video thing. Let's switch gears a little bit. Right now, we don't have an active lab in the week, but we do have one that's coming up. But before we talk about that, I know we have a lab rat of the week. Did we want to talk about that? Who put that in the notes this week?
Yeah, that was me. So I want to give a quick shout out to Stéphane Lefebvre from Quebec. Montreal City. He's actually down in Cozumel for.
City. He's from outside of Quebec City. What's wrong with you?
Hey, anyhow. So no, he's down in Cozumel. He competed over the weekend in the Ironman 70.3 down there and had a great race. So he's had a great season. He dialed back his run a bit because I think he had some lower body issues. But he kept training. He had a great swim. He had a really awesome bike, and then he, I think, gutted out the run and had a great time, less than 6 hours. So great job to Stéphane. Hope he's enjoying Cozumel.
That's awesome. All right, so shifting gears to on the horizon, we're going to quickly pass it on to Taya and then to Ian. We're going to talk about the Ability Lab and the Transition Lab. So and then we'll wrap this up. So Taya, what have we got on the horizon here?
Yeah, next couple of days here, we're going to be starting our Ability Lab. So this is designed to maintain the fitness that athletes have built up until this point in the season. So it's not going to be doing a huge push for preparing you for your A event. So this is after that happens and before you transition into the off-season training. So you continue to advance your skills that translate into faster and more efficient riding. So all athletes of all levels can benefit from this lab. Whether you're going to be participating in cyclocross, gravel, or similar events, or just enjoying your group rides outside, keeping in mind all the tips that we covered today. Absolutely. Racing indoors in Zwift, if you just graduated from Zwift Academy and is looking to advance your training and continue to build upon what you have been doing for the last couple of weeks, or you're preparing for the spring season. So take a look at the Ability Lab on endurancelab.fit. There's more information there. You can see a sample workout video. You can look at our forum. And if you have any questions, just reach out to any of us.
And Ian, what have you had in the works for those that are not trying to peak the rest of their season, but just trying to transition between now and when their next season starts?
Yeah, so actually what we came up with another lab for people who are maybe just getting into it, getting into cycling or coming off of injury, and want to get a level of fitness back in before getting into real training. Because what we've noticed is all the plans out there for the most part have a basic concept of a basic level of fitness going in. But if you don't have the basic core and you don't have the basic cycling fitness, you're going to struggle at any of the labs early, and there's a possibility of injuring yourself. So we created a 4-week preparatory lab, really what it is, where it's good for someone who's coming off injury, coming back into it, or someone who's just completely new to training on a bike. And so the focus of it is there's 2 to 3, depending on what week we're in, basic core workouts of 10 to 15 minutes. And then we start off with just some easy riding that we do it based on our perceived effort. And then we go into power-based training off of that. And the concept is just to get on the bike, get comfortable with it, not to worry about your numbers, because they're not going to be anywhere what you think they should be, because we all think we should be riding Pro Tour numbers and you've ridden before. And we get on and we realize, oh, I'm pushing 1.8 watts a kilo. Why am I not doing 650 watts? So the idea is get on, get comfortable, learn how your body feels at different levels of pushing. You'll see the numbers and you'll start to understand what the different levels mean to you, to your body. And then we'll get into those power numbers where we want you to try and hold specific numbers. And honestly, all the workouts are not extremely difficult. Some of them will be challenging for very new riders. Some of them will be very challenging for people who have never done any kind of core work, but they're all built with modification and some capacity to downgrade the effort if you need to, based on coming back from your injury or just being brand new to it. So that's all we're focused on with this 4 weeks. And at the end of this 4 weeks, you'll be at a point where you can jump into some of the base training, get started preparing Perfect. For the winter and into the spring.
Absolutely. Perfect. All right. That brings us to wrapping up. I want to respect our listeners' time as well as our coaches. So thank you for that. I want to remind everybody that this podcast is brought to you by the coaches of the Endurance Lab, where you can train smart and get results, and that our labs are specifically designed, as you've heard, to achieve your structured training goals with a group of cyclists and triathletes working towards the same goal. And so I want to thank everybody again for joining us today here in the Coach's Corner. And if it's your first time listening and would like to hear more content from the Endurance Lab, head over to your favorite podcast app, search the Endurance Lab, or head over to YouTube and do the same. And don't forget to click subscribe. For more information on when the next lab is, you've got a lot of choices. Head over to endurancelab.fit, where you can learn and you can join us to train smart and get results. We'll see you guys next week. Have a good week. All right, audio.